Another beautiful Sunday in central New York. Howdy folks, it's February 9th, 2025. Got a little snow again last night, so I'm going to go ahead and do some snow blowing. Turn on the auger, turn that chute up a little bit. Up there. Turn it on into low turtle speed here. And medium. Okay, get started. Well, as I've stated before, I'm done in winter. I can hardly wait for springtime. And I can remember when I prayed for every snowstorm when I was a kid. Because that meant if it was bad enough, no school. And of course, snowstorms up here in Oswego, New York, well, they had to be pretty darn good in order to get out of school. Some of this area here, slow and steady. It's 25 degrees Fahrenheit right now. And the tractor's got to warm up. It takes a little while for it to warm up, but it is kind of nice when it is warm. Attention what I'm doing here when I'm backing up between the buildings. So we've been pretty busy around here lately. Lots of office work, but also more work having to be done over with our the new property. We rent the house out to the person that we actually bought the property from, Carol. Fantastic person. Best person, if you're going to have a tenant, best person on earth to have is a tenant. But it's an older home. It's a double wide on top of a foundation. It's other buildings as well. And if you've been here for a while, you've seen me do some work over there. And this season I had to do a lot of work with the wood burning stove, a wood stove they bought several years back from Tractor Supply. It's a nice stove, real nice stove. But after Carol's husband passed away, she really didn't know how to operate the wood stove very well, or at least I don't think anybody had given her proper instructions for it. So leaving the door open on a wood stove can really let a lot of airflow in. It can do a lot of damage. And it did do some damage. So I had to repair the damper probably a couple months ago. Replace grates in there because the cast iron actually melted. And it's all about learning how to maintain a fire, get lots of heat without causing excess heat inside of the stove. And so we got that all straightened out. So the wood stove had been working great now for well over a month, a couple months. But then the furnace really started making a lot of noise. And it hadn't been cleaned out or any work done on it. Since probably a month ago I went over and I worked on the furnace, cleaned it all out. It's a propane furnace, a mobile home type furnace, a Miller furnace. And it was sealed bearings for the motor for the blower, or the squirrel cage as some people would call it. So I did the best I could cleaning it out and saying, well, isn't making too much noise. It was blowing air. It was functioning. It was starting to make noise, and I knew I'd have to replace the motor in it. And trying to find a motor for one of those furnaces, I saw this being a real hassle. It wasn't going to be something I could do real quick. And I wasn't certain that the blower housing, the squirrel cage, the fan that the motor operates, was good. It looked like it was good, but I said, you know, I'd rather wait until warmer weather when we're not dependent on the furnace to repair it. So that was probably a little over a month ago. It was during the winter months. And so I took the gamble and all, and Carol called and said, hey, the furnace is making more noise and it feels hot in one location. So I said, well, so I went over, shut it down, decided that the motor needed to be replaced. So I went to a furnace shop, heating, plumbing, air conditioning place that's been around for years and years, and they've got a really good reputation, good people. There's also another furnace place that does the service and all, and I heard some bad stories about them and how they try to upsell you with everything. And they had with Carol the year before. A year or two ago, I ended up fixing the exhaust pipe coming out of the furnace at the roof. They were giving her all sorts of really wild estimates for doing the repair. So I went up and repaired it for like 20 bucks, 25 bucks. I can't remember what it was. And I did some roof repair at that time as well, just to make sure. The roof isn't that old, but I decided there's some spots where around the penetrations that weren't really done professionally, so I went through and fixed those spots and all. And everything worked great after that, but they wanted, I don't know, 1,700 bucks to do what I did for like 20, 25 bucks. So I decided not to contact them for having them come out and actually repair the furnace. So I said, well, I can get away less expensive and find out exactly what needs to be done. So I took the serial number down, the model number of the furnace, and gave that to the local shop that I talked about that's got a good, honest reputation. And it took just a little over a week. So thank God the wood stove, because we've had some cold spells here. Thank God the wood stove was working fine. And so it took over a week. Like $722 is, I think, what the cost was for the new motor and blower housing. I looked at it and I said, boy, this doesn't look like the same one, but the serial number and model number match, you know, because it's been over a week. And I took pictures of all this stuff, but you can't tell the size of the thing. So the blower housing, the squirrel cage was much larger. And so when I got it there, I looked at it and said, well, this isn't even going to fit in there. So much for the distributor of these parts for Miller furnaces, being able to accurately get the right part. So I pulled out the old one and I said, look, I think the fan housing is in good shape. And if we could just replace the motor, these are just like little standard electric motors. We'll just find a replacement motor for this and mount it onto the housing. Because they have different bracket types, the way that they mount onto the squirrel cage or the housing, the fan housing. And So I turned the throttle up here, so I just realized I still had turned. The snow wasn't getting thrown quite as far. Took them a couple of days, but they were able to find a motor for it. They mounted the new motor onto the fan that I dropped off so they could actually see everything. And I'm supposed to be getting refunded on my credit card for the 722, but I'm surprised at how much one of these little electric motors costs. Now, probably 30 years ago, I did the same sort of repair on another Miller furnace, very similar to this. And I've done it twice before. And a new motor back then was $69, $70, under $100. Well, this motor, which is probably the same one that we manufactured back then, $440. I had to pay him also for the time. I guess it took him 4 hours to find it, and then take the 3 screws off and put the 3 screws on for the new one. So they only charged me for 2 hours, so another $250 for that. So just the motor, screws, $750. Needless to say, as I'm getting older, renting has never been a pleasant experience for me. We rented our house out here when Thea and I were in Ithaca. So we went to Ithaca 93. Came back in 2003. And I'll tell you, we had a couple of tenants in there that were just, they did so much destruction because we were a couple hours away. And not because we're a couple hours away, but you're in veterinary school and working and doing everything you can to better yourself. Well, we had lots of problems. So as I'm just about to enter my senior years, I'm thinking, renting isn't something that I want to do. It's just a real hassle. So cutting through some of this deeper stuff here. So it's enough just taking care of our own home and property and all of that as we're getting older. And Thea's not able to do what she was able to do any longer as a result of her fractures. And we don't want her getting hurt anymore. So just one of those things, you know, it's just reassessing life and trying to decide what you want, how you want to deal with it. Challenging decisions. And, you know, you never know how long you're going to last. Hopefully we're going to last quite some time. But fortunately, it sounds like my daughter is interested in taking this place place at some point in the future. I'm going to find out if she's interested in the rental property in the meantime. My daughter's a very handy, very capable woman, and very responsible. And she's got two daughters, or granddaughters. We've got our great-grandson. She's very involved in caring for him and her daughter as well. It's a lot of work. She's been a hard worker like Thea and I have been her whole life. And I just love her to be able to have this place in the future. And a lot of it can just go back to the wild, because it's a lot of work maintaining this place. Want to do lots of remodeling here over the next few years. Getting, you know, I hate vinyl siding. I want the vinyl siding off. Probably will want hardy board, concrete boards, cement boards, cement impregnated wrap around the outsides. Don't have to worry about any severe weather. Don't have to worry about fires, any of those sorts of things. And our windows are the original windows we put in '84 when we built the house. So it's they all need to be replaced. So it's one of those things, want to get the place ready for our senior years and ready for an easy transition when it's time. My daughter. It's all about planning. Flashers here. I keep hitting them at different times. I replaced them before. Probably gonna have to replace one on this side because of the overhangs on the house. We got lots of limbs down. We've had some real high winds here, which is nothing new for our property, but it sure can be something. Cherish the idea of renting out the place. I'd much rather my daughter move in there, because it's so hard to find someone that isn't going to be destructive or not respect your property. person in this day and age isn't easy. So that's that. The furnace called this morning. Thea called Carol this morning to make sure the furnace was going well. She's real happy, everything's working great. But it's one of those things, there's always something that breaks or needs to be repaired. And it's quite a responsibility when you're renting out a home, make sure that it's fit to be rented out. I know there's lots of landlords that certainly don't take on that responsibility well. But it's important. So we were at the post office dropping off some books yesterday to be mailed out, and Dave comes out of the post office with a gentleman who saw this. He was wearing the Cybertruck, and I guess they both went into the post office at the same time. He saw her get out of the Cybertruck, Thor. Really interested in finding out a little more about it. Quite a knowledgeable guy. His business is like a tow truck operator. There may be other aspects to his business, but it's a small family-run business. Real nice guy, and seemed quite knowledgeable and aware of how things are going to be changing in the future. How things have changed in recent years. Like he was talking about so many of the newer vehicles that are way overpriced that people are buying, and he's ending up, just adjusting the shoe here, he's ending up taking brand new vehicles and towing them right back to the dealership to get repairs. Now, that isn't uncommon, I guess, but these are brand new vehicles by all different makes and models. And I told him what I knew about some of the things that were changing. And of course, he was the one who volunteered. He said, all the places that are going around, what's going to happen with the dealerships are more important than what's going to happen with all the small auto service centers. Joe, the neighborhood mechanic that you trusted for years. Everybody you know knows that he's an honest guy, honest family, that takes care of your vehicles, doesn't overcharge you, as opposed to going to the dealership and try and get every penny out of you that they can. And he asked that when he's bringing in these vehicles, I'd love to be able to interview him for our channel, to tell you the truth. And I did give him our card, our business card. So if he watches this video and sees himself, and he wants to, I'd love to interview him to share his experiences as a tow truck operator and his experiences communicating with small repair shops. We're talking about auto repair places, and how many of those people just aren't aware at all that their businesses are in jeopardy because there aren't the oil changes, the brake jobs, all the things that everybody thinks that has to be done with internal combustion vehicles. And things are changing rapidly. He actually was interested in buying an electric vehicle back as far as, I think it was 2015 or 2016 is what he told me. This is all conversations in the parking lot. He's standing outside talking to me, and I'm sitting in the truck. Thea stood out there chatting for a while too, but then she got in the truck. Very real nice guy, very knowledgeable. And just getting his perspective, because I have my perspective. And the whole auto industry is going to be changed drastically. We had one client who bought from our nursery, and I don't remember where he's located, but he drives Teslas. But he owns a car dealership. Now, of course, they don't sell Teslas at the car dealership. And so he knows where the future is headed because him and his wife, they drive the Teslas. They have other vehicles that they drive onto the dealership lot because they don't want people seeing them. That the dealership owners own electric vehicles. But, you know, he's a very wealthy man. He's done very well in life. They can do what they want in life. They're at that point in life, and he's a young fella. He's a young guy, but he was smart. He invested in the dealership years ago, and I didn't talk with him myself. My wife spent the time talking. My wife's more of a chatterbox than I am. And bear with me here. And so I didn't get to ask him, the owner of the dealership, what he's going to be doing in the future, because even though there's pending lawsuits trying to take away the right for you to be able to buy a vehicle online, because you're cutting into all their profits in a dealership. I mean, they make thousands of dollars, and they make most of their money from the services they provide, even though it's only a fraction of the customers that they sell their vehicles to that actually use them for regular service, and they're just getting ripped off. It's sad to say, but you know, and with an electric vehicle, there's just no, you know, you put windshield washer fluid in it. After so many miles, you gotta change your tires. That's about it. The wiper blades. You got to change your wiper blades every few years. And you know, I just see things changing drastically in the future. And there's things that I think are things that people don't think about is the demographics. So the Auto Line Weekly, a great show. They cover all sorts of components of the auto industry, all sorts of components. And I saw part of, and I was half falling asleep when I saw this in this room. No, I was actually working at the computer at the time. That's what it was. So I really didn't glean all the information, but, you know, all over the world, the populations are aging. Thea and I were part of the tail end of the baby boomers after World War II. A big boom in the birth of babies, and so we're part of that group. So we're the old farts that are stuck in our ways, you know, and the population, we're all going into retirement, and younger generations really are not reproducing at a high enough rate. So things like Social Security, Medicare, all of those things, people are realize that, well, there won't be enough in the future to pay for these services for future generations based on the way that funding is done at this time. But when you think about it, young people with robo-taxis and full self-driving vehicles along, when I was a kid, I couldn't wait to get my license. That was of critical importance to me. It meant not having to walk such a long distance to get to work. So when I was 16, I got my, I can't remember what it was, I got a license that I could drive up to a certain point. You get a permit before that. I don't remember the details, but well, I had my own car when I was 16, had my own motorcycle, and that was back when interest rates were through the sky in the early 70s, and with oil embargo, OPEC, late 70s, Jimmy Carter, and all sorts of things. Interest rates were through the ceiling. But now we're in a situation where, sorry, I'm focusing on what I'm doing here. We're in a situation where the auto industry, there's going to be fewer and fewer new vehicles needed each year. Now, right now, the cost of a new vehicle is outrageous. I mean, the guy I spoke with yesterday at the post office, you know, said people are buying these $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 trucks, brand new trucks that are breaking down. He's got to bring them right back to the dealership. And I don't think he was exaggerating at all. It's just that the changes that they made, and some of it's because of government policies, there's just so much more to break down. And, you know, our American Assemble, so I explained in one of the videos recently that I got a question that somebody was disappointed that we chose to have Teslas that aren't American made. And I made sure to explain to her that Teslas are the most American made of all manufacturers. Rivian is another one. Your old school, just adjust things here. Your old school GM, Ford, Dodge. Many of them are assembled here, not all of them, but just about all their components are outsourced. And that's going to be hurting those old school manufacturers. Ford is trying to deal with that now. Mary Barr isn't doing too good of a job for GM with that. But, you know, vertical integration where you're actually making the components yourself, or you're sourcing from suppliers that are nearby, local companies, definitely in the United States. So does Tesla outsource some parts? Yes, but not nearly to the extent Ford, GM, you know. And many people think that their vehicles that they buy were even assembled in the United States, and many of them were assembled in Mexico. And nothing wrong with it. It's just that it's so expensive to outsource parts. Because the company that's making the seats, they've got to make a profit, so they sell them with a profit to the guy who's assembling, the company that's assembling. It just makes sense. Everybody's got to, you know, pay their employees, pay their overhead, and pay their shareholders, pay their owners. of all of the hassles and to be able to make a little profit. Really, really important. Capitalism 101. And so these auto manufacturers need and are starting to insource. In other words, manufacture their own subcomponents as well. And that means many outsourced suppliers are going to be going out of business. That's going to be a big strain on businesses here in the States. Then we have this aging population where we don't have young people coming in and taking place. Now in the States, we've had the benefit of immigrants. Now, I'm not condoning illegal immigrants. I think they need to be moved out as quickly as possible. But a lot of good, hard-working people, entrepreneurs as well, have come as immigrants. So the United States has benefited for years circumventing the catastrophic effects that other countries are experiencing with the decreased population. So Europe, for example, isn't replacing their young people. So you have this aging population, and that puts more of a strain on the country, on the GDP at all. So, you know, demographics play a big role. A big role in a country's ability to be a leading country. So that's a global issue right now. Fortunately, the United States, because of immigration, I'm talking legal immigration, has done well with trying to meet the needs of the aging population by replacing what we aren't reproducing ourselves with new blood coming into the country. A lot of people don't like that, but it's necessary in order to make our country profitable. And it's going to be hard. You know, it's going to be a transition period where it's going to be tough for us to deal when we ship out all of the illegal immigrants too, because many of those illegal immigrants are hard-working people. They aren't criminals. Well, they're criminals because they came into the country illegally, but they aren't. They're just people that want a chance, just like our forefathers. But like I say, I think it's essential that we've got to get rid of all of these criminals, all of the illegal immigrants that are criminals. Do I wish there was a way to segregate out those individuals who did cross the border illegally, who have been working their butts off? Yeah, I wish we could. That are good people that just want a chance. That would be good. Because I can put myself in their shoes. I'm not an immigrant, but you know, I know what it's like starting with nothing and doing your very best, working your butt off. Jobs that, well, like farmers can't afford to pay the higher wages. It's so expensive to do, you know, startups, different manufacturing jobs, agriculture, construction work. Jesus, I wish you wouldn't push the snow right in front of the fire hydrant. Look at that. It gets to the point where I can't even see the hydrant. Anyways, it's just stewing in my head over him keep pushing snow up against the fire hydrant. It's just so inconsiderate. That's the way some people are. Anyways, just concerned about what's going to happen for our future. Really happy with what I see going on, with what Trump's accomplishing, getting people in office that are really doing some things. Really happy that those folks in North Carolina, was it back in September the hurricane hit? Jesus. Without the assistance that they should have gotten. But there's an example where, you know, where communities pulled together and made the best of a terrible time, a terrible situation. And I find that wonderful that they can do it. Just really disappointed it's taken so much time for our government get in there and get some roads open for those people. And really happy about that. So anyways, I'll just jibber jabber longer and longer. I think what I'll do is do a little time lapse of video from here of cleaning up some snow. May put some songs in, don't know. And I'm definitely looking forward to spring. Real happy some changes in government are happening. DOGE is starting to make clear some of the misuse, fraud, and shuffling money that was meant to go help people who really needed it into the pockets of NGOs. This stuff just needs to come out. It's just so important for us to be made aware of what's actually going on, so that we can correct it, direct the funds to the people that we want them to go to, and at the same time save taxpayer money, because there's a hell of a lot of things we could be doing here in the States other than sending money to these fat cats that are surfing. They're like middlemen, just sucking the money away from the people who need it. That's been targeted for them. And to certainly stop funding, I would call them stupid operations. I'll just say that. So anyways, I'm going to switch over to time-lapse now. I really appreciate everyone's view. I love your comments. I love to hear what you're thinking. I hope your winter's going well. This is one guy signing off who's really looking forward to spring. Thanks so much for watching. Stay safe and take care. Bye-bye.
I used to run through the fields of white, snowflakes dancing in the moonlight. Cold winds never chilled my bones back when I was young and strong. Snowball fights, frozen streams, winter felt just like a dream. Now I watch it through the glass, just waiting for the storm to pass. I must be getting old, I feel it in my soul. The frost don't shine like it did before. Used to love the snowfall, now I just recall how I long for springtime more and more. Shoveling snow used to be no pain, now my back just don't feel the same. Boots by the door, but I hesitate, dreaming of the sun on my face. Icicles hung like chandeliers once filled my heart with winter cheer. Now I count the days till green, tired of all this in between. I must be getting old, I feel it in my soul. The frost don't shine like it did before. Used to love the snowfall, now I just recall how I long for springtime more and more. Maybe it's the years, maybe it's the cold, maybe it's the stories that haven't been told. But I know when the robins sing, I'll finally feel like me again. So I'll sit here by the firelight, let winter fade into the night. Come the morning, melt away, bring on the spring. I just can't wait.